There's no right or wrong way, I think, to really watch anime, but I think that there's ways that people can sort of get misguided. I think that always focusing on the current airing shows, the newest season, the biggest hype show, basing what you're going to watch and spend your time looking at a screen, like just looking at what a majority of people out there are looking at just so you can join a conversation. I don't think that's necessarily the healthiest thing. And I know I'm I'm an anime YouTuber and I do weekly episode reviews of Tower of God. So in a way, this is hypocritical because I watch it because people have hyped me up for it and ended up being a good show. That's why I don't think that's necessarily the bad way to go about it. I just think that you need to have a mixture. You need to have a variety. You need to pay attention to old shows. You need to have an appreciation for older shows, or at least try them out or something. I think of Yu Yu Hakusho, which came out in '92, the year that I was born. You know, man, almost 28 years ago. I still haven't finished it, by the way, but we're getting there. I've been watching it periodically here and there for a long time now. It's one of my best friend's favorite anime of all time, and it is certainly hype. It's certainly worth the hype. It's a fantastic older shonen series that I think a lot of shows these days borrow from, and that's kind of, I know that might sound like a sort of like boomer-esque thing to say, is that like these new age shows, oh, they just borrow stuff from the past. Well, that might be true. I think that there is creativity nowadays. I'm going to kind of fence sit here because there's aspects of like My Hero that I enjoy. There's aspects of Tower of God and stuff that I enjoy. There's aspects of these modern shows that are really good, but as I sit here trying to stare at like the summer my anime list, like seasonal stuff, I'm seeing just a ton of sequels and only a handful of things I'd like remotely be interested in. And I feel like this is a recurring dream. This is a recurring reality, rather, that I have looking at seasonal anime charts. And this is kind of why I don't dive into specific seasons. I usually pick out one, maybe two shows at most from a particular season, and I watch them because at any time I enjoy watching like three or four shows. I put shows on hiatus for a long time, and then I come back to them. I got requests from patrons and friends and stuff like that to watch shows. I have the Yu Yu Hakusho project, which has been a long time. I watch stuff so sporadically that I think like the time, like when it came out, doesn't necessarily like matter to me. Like it doesn't have to be the most new hype thing. I'd prefer to like watch a hype thing most of the time when it's all over, and then catch up to it and then share my opinion on it, and then watch it at my leisure instead of like, oh hey everyone, like to me it's actually kind of a hindrance. Like I gotta like pay attention in my work, in my life and everything, that I gotta pay attention for every Wednesday. Gotta make sure I watch Tower of God and upload a video if I want to like stay a part of like get like hold on to that sort of like weekly viewership or something like that. And that's fine. I mean, if that's like the content that some people want to see, that's cool. I get it. I've watched episode reviews myself. Um, I understand wanting to be in the conversation, but I think before you just focus all on being in that conversation, I think you gotta look at older stuff and just take a break from the new stuff every once in a while. Just take that breather. If everything is pissing you off in the current season, you say, like, I hate the notion that, oh, I don't have a good anime to watch. There is never, ever going to be a time where I run out of anime to watch. Ever. I am going to kick the bucket someday, and hopefully I'll finish Yu Yu Hakusho by then. But there will still be good anime to watch because there's no way you could see every good thing before then. Like, I think of something like, like Angel's Egg is this thing from is a OVA, I believe, from 1985, from the same director as Ghost in the Shell, and it is without a doubt one of the most beautiful pieces of animation I've ever seen, and it's from 19 freaking 85. The backgrounds in this thing are beyond gorgeous. The character designs, even though there's just really like two characters throughout the entire thing, are stunning. And it looks so much better than a lot of stuff like made today. And you look back at something like that, like people always say like you like to look back at like Bebop and how like that was sort of like the sort of toward the end of like the hand drawn like Cell era or whatever. And I love Bebop. Bebop looks beautiful. Bebop is like eternally amazing. I consider it a must-watch anime. That just drove me to look even like back further. And I haven't even really checked out enough personally. I haven't checked out enough stuff even before checked out enough stuff like before Angel's Egg. Like I really should go back and I'll probably even be more amazed because Angel's Egg is amazing. It has a lot of like bizarre messages to it. It is definitely an interesting like mind bend of an anime. I'd highly recommend it. I believe it's all on YouTube. But it's really good. It's really short, not a lot of dialogue. I could see it might like bore people, but you know, it's definitely like something you can just watch it to say like you checked it out. Like you can, it's sort of like a I look at Angel's Egg sort of like on like the bucket list of anime fans. It's like an older thing that I think you should check out. Also on that list would be Ninja Scroll from 1993. I was a whopping 1 year old and this is out. That's funny. This is just if you like action stuff, if you like shonen, if you like all the fights in My Hero Academia and Naruto and Black Clover and Bleach. Okay, well maybe not all of those fights are exactly like the ones you're going to see here, but if you like solid like hand to hand combat with bizarre powers, Ninja Scroll is right up your alley. It is so good. It is, and it's the fight scenes are just so like interesting, and the different characters and how they use different like ninja arts, and how almost like even like the one-off like side villains could have had like an arc about them as like an interesting villain, just how just their design and how they fought and everything. And there's just a badass anime all around. It's gory as hell. It's super like adult. If this is definitely something, if someone's trying to tell you that anime is for kids, Ninja Scroll exists, my dude. But and I don't even know. I don't know if we're ever gonna like reach a point where we're even like making stuff like similar to Ninja Scroll. I mean, we're still making action stuff. We're making gory things, but I think sometimes it just gets buried in like edge. And I think the newer way to get like clout shock value is to like do stuff to like cute characters, which I don't, you know, that could be something that, you know, sticks with people's minds. And there are shows that do that I enjoy. Like Made in Abyss is cool. It's sort of like a different thing. But I think that's more the trend nowadays. You look at like something like Promised Neverland. And I know it's probably a weird comparison to have like Ninja Scroll and Promised Neverland, but my point is I don't think like I wish we had like modern day Ninja Scroll, but at the same time, you know, the '93 Ninja Scroll was pretty good, and I could always just rewatch that. And if you haven't seen that, you definitely should because it's awesome. Also in 1993 was Battle Angel Alita the OVA. I think it's just called Battle Angel here. This is adapted from the manga Gundam, which is this long-running manga series that I'm checking out myself. But the '93 OVA, it's only like 2 episodes long, and it is another piece of like really, really good old animation and interesting fights. It's cyberpunk like it is like the definition of old school like cyberpunk. It's got robot people fighting each other. It's this futuristic, like desolate world with like a higher class society versus a lower class society, and just a lot of like interesting social commentary going on, and it's just really, really, really cool, and just a main character that you root for. It's got interesting like side characters, like and in those two episodes, you really feel that like you would want to go on an adventure with these characters. Like you want to follow Doc Ito and Alita on like an adventure, and you don't necessarily get that from every like new anime. And I feel like a lot of people miss it. Like they may have heard of the James Cameron adaptation of this, which I thought was pretty good. I would recommend that people like watch the '93 anime instead, and then go after the James Cameron version. But I think that movie is also worthy of watching for sure. It's not like a train wreck like some anime adaptations are. That's also a visual spectacle, but it's sort of like the interesting comparison of like a modern day spectacle versus like a 1993 spectacle. And the 93 spectacle is sort of like it could be like enshrined as like a great piece of like classic animation versus like I think a modern day heavy CG movie, you know, 25 years from now, like what are we really going to be saying about James Cameron's Battle Angel Alita, like visually? Are we? I honestly don't really know. Like, are we going to say like this doesn't look that good compared to like what the hell are we going to be looking at 25 years from now? You know, I mean, maybe it still holds up, but I don't think it's going to hold up in the same way that this original OVA does. And definitely not the manga. The manga, by the way, you know what? The way to really go about this is the manga. And I mean, you watch the OVA, then just go with the manga because the manga, the OVA basically covers like very little of the manga. So you're only like rehashing a little bit of it into your brain. That's currently what I'm doing. But watch Alita, man. It is fantastic. The Slayers from 1995. This show had I think 5 seasons. I own the first 3. There's 2 more that I don't even have, and I've only seen season 1 of this. I've seen the first. I think it's 24 or 26 episodes. My good friend J Chip from the J Chip Show was checking it out as well. I had heard about this from Bob Samurai, a fellow YouTuber, a guy that I look up to a lot, and he's a little older than myself, and he like I'm see like people that have seen a good chunk of like older anime get a lot of like respect for me because they've taken the time, and it's something that I want to do more. Like I want to do that more, as well as like watching the stuff that you guys like suggest for me. Keep doing that. That's because nothing makes me feel better than like checking out something that really means something to one of my fans and stuff like that. But I do wish that I had like infinite time just to check out like a lot of this older stuff. And then I really like watching like older stuff and then seeing like newer stuff and thinking like, this older show did X and Y sort of better. I kind of like the way they did it back then better. And Slayers is an awesome like high fantasy like adventure story and comedy. It's got action and comedy. It's got magic. It's got like knights, guys with like swords, and a lot of like slapstick going on, and a lot of just there's seriousness too. There's like sorcery and everything, and I think it's a good like description of like, or I'm sorry, depiction of like traveling around in this high fantasy world. Like their characters are like super hungry and looking for places, just to like Lena could just down a whole ton of food and they're looking for like places to stay and stuff like that. And you genuinely feel like they're on an adventure, and it's people that you can attach to. Like Lena has this like semi mysterious sort of past. She has like a sister that you don't know like too much about. You wonder if she's going to have like any sort of relationship with the I forget the name of the with one of the guy, the blonde dude. Oh my god, his name is escaping me. With a one member of her team and stuff like that. And it makes you wonder about sort of like the magic system and how things work. And something like Hunter x Hunter does like a really good job like explaining its Nen system, and that's sort of like I think something that I think that I'm a sucker for like powers, and I like when powers are like iconic. And like I think like Hunter x Hunter does a better job like explaining like a power system. But I think something like the Slayers, and I guess you could say this about like old school like Dragon Ball or like DBZ or something, is that the powers are like super iconic. Like Dragon Slave, which is Lena's like finishing move, is essentially just like a magic like Kamehameha thing. But it's like iconic in the show. Like you know what to expect like when it's happening. It is but and then it's really just like it gets you excited. It's oh, she's going to do the Dragon Slave. This is going to look really cool. Like those pieces of animation like look really nice, especially compared to everything else. It's not really an ugly show, but I mean it does look a little older. But I love the character designs. I love the powers here. But does it explain all of its powers necessarily perfectly? No. But I like sort of watching this and then watching a newer sort of show really make me sort of like compare and contrast, which I think a lot of people aren't able to do because they're not watching like older shows, and that's another like benefit of watching something older like the Slayers. And the last one that I think I'm really going to talk about here, oh no, never mind. Now and Then Here and There from 1999. I've talked about this all. This is like I think the second review I ever did. In my opinion, the most underrated anime of all time. The only time you ever hear people talking about this anime are the people that really really like it, or they were really pushed into talking about it by people that like it. Like that's a kind of a sad fate of older shows. Is not a lot of people are just like blindly willing to go into them, and I get that. There's a huge catalog of shows, and that's only ever growing. But that's also making me fearful because we come out with more and more shows every year, and a lot of gems can just get buried. And one thing that I think that as anime YouTubers, I think what we should do is promote what we think is beautiful art and incredible art. And Now and Then Here and There is one of my favorite anime of all time. It is certainly dark and memorable and not what you would really think in like an isekai type show. And perhaps it's not as popular because of that, but I think if you're somebody that likes isekai, if you're somebody that likes like war fantasy type stories, or really I think almost anybody should at least check out Now and Then Here and There. It is certainly a memorable show. Check out my review about it as well, I guess. But it's just a fantastic show. Vampire Hunter D2000. This is. I thought this anime when I was like, piling together the list of what I was going to talk about here, I thought this was even older than it was. It is from 2000. But it gives off, in my opinion, it gives off like an older vibe. Like it gives off like a 90s vibe in my opinion, or like I feel like it could have been made in like the late 80s or something. But it looks gorgeous, but it is the quintessential like cool vampire anime, and it's not really about like pretty boy vampires, even though some of them might be, but the character designs are really really cool in this. It's got gore, it's got cool action, it's got the stuff you like about like Blade like in an anime, and it's sort of just like a taste of this, because it's a film, it is a like teaser sort of taste of what could be this like incredible world. And I think one thing that anime does really well, in my opinion, is it if it's able to sort of immerse you in this interesting world and make you sort of like want to put pieces together in your head as to like why this world is like this or something like that. And I think that's like part of the entertainment of it. And Vampire Hunter D is certainly one of the best anime in terms of like just having this like bizarre concept of it's almost like Mad Max type world with like with vampires and just with crazy violence and stuff like that. If like Castlevania, I have not checked out Castlevania on Netflix. I've heard very good things about it. I think if you're somebody that likes that kind of thing, or if you like stuff with vampires in it, I think you should definitely check out Vampire Hunter D. I also think it's like, I think if you're trying to get new people into anime, a film is like probably the best way to go about it. And this might be an okay choice if the person that you're trying to show it to likes gory vampire stuff. So, onto like a personal favorite, Edica 7 is another one of my favorite anime of all time. I have, I think, a couple videos about this. This came out in '05, but I didn't watch it until like, I think like 2015, maybe even later. I really wish that I had sat through the entire series back in '05, because back then it probably would have been like my number one anime ever. Or even if I had watched it like in high school or something like that. It's definitely something I think younger audiences will enjoy, like teenage audiences enjoy a lot more. Similar to like I think like a lot of people in their teen years like have like a connection to like something like Catcher in the Rye, where it's something like I think people of a certain age demographic might have a mentality that goes along with the characters, and I think like maybe early 20s might also work with like a 7 too, because it's very like hippie, free spirited, trying to break away from control and government and all these ties that bind society, mixed into this crazy mech futuristic rags to riches journey about this kid named Renton who starts with nothing and falls in love with this girl like at first sight. This mysterious girl has this crazy past with like alien technology and alien like interaction with the human species and the planet, and how everything's all connected. And like I said, there's the mechs who literally surf on the sky, and they turn that into this futuristic sport. And it's just so cool, and it's about it really is about like peace and love, and it gets that through crazy like mech combat. And has really crazy music and stuff like that. And I think that it's one that a lot of people have like heard of Edica 7. I've talked to a lot of people who say like, yeah, I've heard of that show, but never checked it out. And it's kind of long. I think it's like 50 episodes. But I definitely think it is more and more a buried treasure that's also sort of buried in itself, because honestly, just watch the original series. I've heard nothing good about AO, the sequel, and I've heard nothing good about like the OVAs and the movies that they've done since then. But I've only seen the original series. I could tell you it is a gem. It is something that you definitely need to watch. It's not even that old. I realize that. I kind of limited it here. This is from '05, so 15 years ago I'd say is somewhat old, and probably feels very old to a lot of like modern anime fans that only watch stuff on the seasonal anime chart. Last one I'm going to talk about here is Kaiba. I had a coin flip on here between Kaiba and Kemonozume, both from director Masaaki Yuasa. Most famous recently, I guess, like most recently from Aizoken, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and I guess most predominantly Devilman Crybaby fame. Yuasa stuff is like an artistic like enigma. Like it looks so bizarre, and Kaiba is certainly there. And it's not necessarily like what I look for. Like I don't personally, I don't like how like his how he necessarily like draws stuff, and but this is like a weird, a bizarre thing like in anime. Like I don't necessarily like the way things look, but I have crazy respect for it. Like his stuff looks so bizarre that it makes me like respect it. And I guess this is what a lot of people might say about Trigger. I genuinely don't like Studio Trigger stuff, but I guess this is where I would sort of concede that it's if it's like something different, it's it's unique. Like and USA stuff is definitely unique, and Kaiba is no exception. Komodozume as well. Shout out to that one. That was from 2006. But Kaiba, I think, is a little better. I think it's more solid of a story. I think it's definitely more like thought provoking. This like interesting sort of like a sci-fi sort of tale about like where like basically like memory becomes like currency almost, and your body becomes like currency. I don't want to like spoil too much of it because it's a relatively short show. Interestingly enough, does not have a dub, which I always found weird. Amazing OP, by the way. But just to sort of like it's another one of those things where if you like X, maybe you should check out Y, right? And if you're someone who has seen Devilman Crybaby or any other more recent Masaki Yuasa project, maybe you should delve into like the roots and see if you like that, because honestly that's sometimes when you go on those like mini experiments, that's when you find stuff that you really like. Like I really love Makoto Shinkai. Are all of his films necessarily great? No. But if I had just seen like 5 centimeters and stopped there, or I'm sorry, like if I had just seen like Your Name and stopped there, then I think I'd be missing out on a lot. And I don't think that you necessarily have to know everything about every anime director and animator and producer and whatever on the planet. But I think if you genuinely like something, then you should strive to check out what you like, because anime is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be an enjoyable experience. It's supposed to be, you know, thought provoking and hopefully positive. I think a lot of people might be going into anime communities for negative reasons. That's kind of a whole other thing. But yeah, I think if you haven't checked out any of these series, you definitely should. Just check out old anime, please. Old anime is so good. Old anime is awesome. Not to say that new anime is bad. New anime can also be good. I will continue to watch some new anime, but I think you always got to have some appreciation for the classics. And these aren't even like really, really old classics. There's stuff from like the 70s and stuff that I'm sure will blow my mind. If there is stuff, if you know about like even older stuff, that will probably blow my mind. If you know anything about my taste or whatever, leave it down below. If there's stuff that you like that you consider, in air quotes, old anime, let me know down below. If you've seen any of these, I want to know like sort of like what you thought about them. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you like what I'm doing here, please hit that subscribe button and consider joining the Patreon link in the description. Thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon already. And thank you everybody out there for watching, or listening rather. My name is Miasma, and I'll see you next time.